All right, the big news of the day here in what is the name of this podcast? The Valkyries Courtside Report.
Yup.
Still under
Sure.
workshop, still workshopping it.
Workshopping.
Marta Suarez is no longer a Valkyrie. She hadn't been a Valkyrie for a couple days, but the news is that she's not going to come back as a developmental player. She got picked up today by the Phoenix Mercury. And with that, I am, I guess, the unofficial host, Joseph Dycus. I'm joined by the actual experts on the Valkyries beat, Marisa Ingemi, Kenzo Fukuda, and
Hello.
Nathan Canilao. So, Marissa, we'll start with you. What do people need to know about this Marta Suarez news?
Yeah, so yesterday we kind of got the vibe, I feel like, that she wasn't gonna be coming back to the Valkyries, just kind of the way media day went. Um, so she signed a developmental deal with Phoenix today. I think we all kind of found out on our way into practice today. The 48 hours passed, so she was able to sign with whoever after going through waivers and everything. She goes to Phoenix because they are just collecting former Valkyries now between like Chloe Bibby and everyone down there now too. They have
Yeah.
Kira Linskins too. So they're just like got to catch them all, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting because like yesterday, Ohema talked a lot more about like the cap flexibility as the reasoning behind that trade in the first place, which I think is like a pretty valid reason for the trade. I think the communication was not handled properly, but I think if like from draft night on we were told like, oh yeah, we made this move for cap flexibility and that's how it is, I think we'd all just kind of be like, okay. Because the more I look at it, the more I'm like, I don't think they intended a rookie to be on this roster at all, aside from Yusa, who was drafted last year.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what the whole Marta Suarez saga comes down to, is like she probably was never going to make the team and Flage probably wouldn't have either.
All right, so cap flexibility. Nathan, what does cap flexibility mean for those who don't know why you would get rid of a second round pick or not want a first round pick in the first place?
Yeah, so there was about a $40,000 difference between picking eighth and picking 16th. And what Ohema described yesterday was that there was a player that she did not name, but that they wanted to potentially sign at some point, and that's really the basis of their cap flexibility. Not only because obviously they wanted a more experienced roster, but they thought they could get another player with that 40,000. Now, there's a lot of theories on who that could be. I won't name the players that, there's obviously a lot of players that were signed after that. But yeah, I mean, you look at just the way it went down and going from 8 to 16, I think, yes, Marissa's totally right. Like the communication could have obviously been better. I understand having that flexibility, especially in a hard cap league, that's really something you need, even in going into the season. Like flexibility is a big deal. Um, it is a little bit puzzling, though. I still think it's a little bit puzzling that they weren't able to get more out of that pick. I mean, they essentially just swap picks. And then obviously with cutting Marta a couple of days ago, they don't have a player in that. They do have a 2028 second round pick, which, by that time, I think that pick would be pushed back. Even if Seattle is the worst team in the league, I think it's safe to say with Cleveland coming in by that time, like that's going to be a weird pick. It could be in the 20s. So a little bit of a questionable on the asset mismanagement side, but I do have a better understanding of what the move did and why they made it.
Kenzo, what's your take on really just everything that's happened?
Yeah, I agree with Nathan and Marissa. Like, I think the explanation makes sense. I see what they were trying to do. If they signed that player that they were targeting, and after that trade, I think we're all viewing this trade a little bit differently because you're seeing why the trade was made in the moment. I think that didn't happen, and obviously we're here now. And I think this is what I'm hung up on. Um, because they made that trade, they had $750,000 in cap space to use on that player or whoever instead of the rookie. They strike out on the player, so they end up using that cap space on Tip Hayes because they preferred a veteran over. I think that was always the case. They always were going to prefer a player that could win now versus a rookie. Whether that's the right process, I think we can debate to the end of time. The only way that someone will be made right is when they start winning or they start losing. But I do think they prioritized. Let's say they kept the eighth pick. That person would have prevented Tip Hayes from being on this roster because of the cap implications. So they chose a player that can win now, and I think we're going to talk about this later. It's because they have this 5 year window of we have to win a championship in 5 years. That's what's been hanging over the head of this organization. That's what's been their guiding compass this from year one. So um, I don't know if I totally agree with that draft process. I still think you can add a rookie and chase that goal and, get young talent and develop them. But clearly they believe that connectivity, experience, and veteran presence is what they're prioritizing this year. So that's my thoughts on the trade.
So I have my notes here, but I really want to touch on this 5 year championship window that they have referenced in I feel like darn near every press conference, every availability over the course of training camp. I guess going back to Marissa, is it realistic to believe that any organization can say we have to win a championship in now 4 years, especially one that was an expansion team? Like I cannot remember a team coming in to any league. Granted, expansion doesn't really happen in the NFL, NBA, etc. And saying we got to win a championship in 5 years. Um, I don't know. What is it realistic?
It's weird because they're these like it's self-imposed, right? Like, what are the stakes? What happens if they don't? Like, what are the ends? Does everyone get fired? Like, what are the stakes here? I'm really curious about like what their intentions with that is, and like, is it just because they want to? I don't know. Like that pressure and all that is like kind of fake. But yeah, I don't. If is it realistic? I mean, I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team in year one, so I guess anything is possible. I do think this is a kind of team that, like, I mean, obviously they've gone the not having a superstar route generally. I'm not sure you can win in this league without having an Asia Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu, and Ifisa Collier. Like, I'm not sure that's doable. So I don't know if it's something that they actually want to do and they've struck out a bunch or they just like genuinely believe in this approach. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm like morbidly curious. Like, they don't win in 5 years. What happens? Like, what is the consequence of that? I actually like don't know. But like, is it? I mean, like, yeah, I guess anything's doable. Especially like more expansion teams are coming in. Like, those are presumably some more wins they can rack up.
Nathan, you talked to Joe Lacob at the end of last season. What was your, obviously we're going back almost a year now, but do you feel like it really is for him? You got to win and by 2030, I guess would be the 5 year window, or things need to change. What was your vibe, or you wrote about it today? So
Yeah, no, I think that's I think he's dead set on that. I mean, I remember my conversation with him. I asked that pretty specifically, and he did say that they were on a faster track than just to put this into context, he made this a goal for the Warriors when he bought them in 2010. They won it in year five. Just to put that in the like that took a while, and they ended up winning it in year five. So that's kind of the backdrop of this 5 year window. Like, this is not something he just like blurted out. This is something that he tried with Golden State with the Warriors, and it worked. Um, but yeah, when I talked to him, he was very clear. Like, 5 years is when we need to win a championship. They're ahead of schedule, obviously, with making the playoffs. That's something the Warriors, back when he bought the team, they didn't do it till year three. So yeah, they are ahead of schedule now. In terms of like realistically, I do want to bring up, like, historically speaking, with WNBA teams, the way to win a championship has been to have a dominant big. That's something they don't have. I mean, they're really zagging where the rest of the league is zigging in terms of they're really building this team with wings, like really NBA style. Like, we're just gonna put a bunch of resource into wings. You look at Janelle Salaun, Chechi Zander now Gabby Williams. It's a lot of forwards, and so historically, that's not how you build a championship contender. But this is how they believe they could do it, and I think, yeah, with this 5 year window, we're gonna see if this is gonna be something that, because if they can do it, it's going to be pretty special, knowing the history of the league, and it can really change the way other teams build rosters. And yeah, like you said, Joseph, this, I mean, you're 1 year down. They have 4 more years to do it. We'll see what happens. I don't know if they're going to get fired or not, but he's, Joe Lacob is pretty dead set on this 5 year window.
As I was just thinking of you as you said that is this idea that you have to have a dominant big, you have to have an interior presence to win in the WNBA. That sounds like the NBA before the Warriors started winning. Remember, it was you have to have a great five or four or LeBron James to win a championship, and now it's oh, you want to be perimeter oriented. So again, I'm just throwing this out here. Do the Valkyries see themselves as this zagging where everyone else is, I guess, not zagging? Is that them trying to replicate what the Warriors did by emphasizing perimeter play? And along those lines, that worked because the Warriors had Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Can are the Valkyries banking on finding their Steph and Clay, Is that the key to success?
I mean, I think the Valkyries want to be on the cutting edge of things. You can see in how they recruit a lot of international players. They scout international players really well. I mean, last year that was basically like that was their advantage over the other teams. They picked players that, they took on the risk of like you not playing in the middle of the season, but they got these players that are all connected and play this very European style of basketball. Whether or not like that can eventually, create a contender, I don't know. I kind of think the way they're building right now is so that they can is not exactly zigging. It's preparing your roster for when you can get an Asia Wilson type of player. Because if you throw in a big into this roster with all these wings and Gabby Williams and Veronica Burton as his franchise point guard, this team looks like is ready to go. Like I think this team is prepping for a star more so than angling for like a different way to win. So I don't know if they struck out this offseason. There are a lot of free agents. That was just the nature of the CBA and everyone lining up their contracts with the CBA. We'll see. But I kind of think it's more they're prepping for whatever big star lands and they can attract to the Bay.
So that's obviously going to probably be either in at the trade deadline or next offseason when they get to go big star hunting again. And in the more immediate future, roster cuts have been happening the last, I guess, week or so. They brought back one player as a developmental player. Marissa, who was that player?
Yeah, Miela Sola, who Natalie's really excited that hit three consecutive half court shots. She's brought it up like a lot of times now. She hit three half court shots at Chase Center during one of the practices, and every time we ask her about it, she's like, "She did that," and that's like crazy. But yeah, she had a really good preseason game. She shot the lights out. I think she went 4 for 4 from 3 point range, like from the third quarter on. So she definitely made an impression. They do lack having guards and ball handlers, so it makes sense to kind of have her available, especially like we don't know when Eustace is going to come back yet. Kate Martin's dealing with injury. They don't have that much depth in that like guard area anyway. So it makes sense for them to bring her back. I figured they would have a guard of some sort in one of those developmental spots.
And Nathan, what are your thoughts on bring back Soa? Who do you think maybe the second developmental spot will go to?
Well, I know it's not Marta Suarez, and that was kind of penciled in, I think, by a lot of us early on, and that obviously now she's in Phoenix. Yeah, I do like Mila Soa at a developmental spot. Now, I had my doubts, obviously a little bit of an unorthodox shot, shoots from her chest, doesn't really get much jump on her shot, but I do think her showing that she can get that shot off, even against backups in Seattle, was a big deal. So I like her in that spot. She's obviously I think she's going to play a lot, especially early on in the season, just because, like Marissa said, you stays. We don't know when she comes in. Ileana Rupert, I mean, just to add another, like Ileana Rupert hasn't practiced, she's sick. And then obviously Kate Martin with the grade 2 quad strain. We don't know if she's going to be back for this week, next week, and it's really still up in the air. She's day to day. So I like her spot. And then in terms of like the second developmental roster spot, I mean, I don't. You would have to kind of look throughout the league and see who's getting waived to really see that. I mean, you know, we brought up Julie Van Loo just got waived by the Sparks. I don't know if I don't think she's getting brought back, but like if you're looking for like a former Valkyrie, like I know Bree Hall is still out there. Um, I'm more of the mindset they're gonna try to get a post player, just because it's the depth wise they have repair, they have Kia Stokes, but you don't really have anything really behind that. Obviously some of these players could play small ball five, so I would look at them more to find, if anything, about a center, a young center who's kind of in that developmental stage, and they can kind of mold and play a couple games out of the year. That'd be my guess. Don't know who that would be at right now, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Obviously, the opener's on Friday, so if they're going to fill that spot, they should probably do it either today or tomorrow.
No, here's a fun thought exercise. What is the best case? We're assuming this is probably going to be the season preview episode. What is the best case scenario for this team, and then what is the worst case scenario? And then what the median scenario is probably what they did last year. You're the 7 or 8 seed. So, Kenzo, we'll start with you. What's the best case scenario for this team? We'll let you be positive, Marissa, and Nathan, you can be a little more negative.
You want me to be the median, or like, am I going to be
No,
positive?
you can be positive. You can be
Okay, I can go both ways, but positive is like they whatever. Like, I think they can. I think they can get to maybe the sixth seed, win a first round series, and build on what they did last year. Test one of these contenders with Gabby Williams. Like you have the defense. You're going to be in every game because you have that defense. I think best case scenario, you are testing these teams and you're hard out in the playoffs. I don't think they're championship ready yet, but crazier things have happened in sports. Cinderella run, who knows? I think I'm also going to throw my worst case scenario though. I think if they're the ninth seed, that's far worse than if they just lose every game because you're not. I know with the draft, the Valkyries with the draft is really weird, but it's even weirder when they're picking eighth or ninth. They're in the middle of the draft where they don't have a lottery pick. I think the worst thing that you can be. This is a whole tanking scenario, tanking debate. The worst thing you can be in any sport is stuck in the middle, where you're not good enough to contend, and you're not good enough to get high end talent back. And if they are the ninth seed, which is very possible, they can very well just be the right outside the playoff edge and not get a good lottery pick and have to do this whole draft thing all over again, where they're debating a rookie versus a veteran because of the salary implications and they're trying to win. I think that is the worst thing that could happen to this team. They either need to be winning or they need to be low enough to get talent through the draft. And I think we saw this year picking eighth created dilemmas for them. So that's my worst case scenario for them.
All right, Marissa, what's your best and worst case scenario?
Yeah, best case scenario is similar to Kenzo's. Like I could see them being a six seed, winning a first round series, depending on matchup. And I think that would be like the natural progression for them. And I think they definitely have like a higher ceiling this year to do something like that than I think we all imagined last year. Worst case, I think like if they're really bad, that would be very bad for them because I don't think the fan base is going to be as patient because now like the expectation is like, okay, they made the playoffs. Part of the hype last year was like, oh, they're interesting, they're fun, but they're also kind of good. Especially given all the drama with not bringing Flage in, she would have been a fan favorite. I do think there might be some impatience in the fan base if they're just like not good. So I think worst case scenario is they're generally bad from start to finish. Never quite like I don't think there's a world where Portland isn't the worst team in the league if I'm being totally honest. But like yeah, they're just like in the bottom third of the league. They're boring. They're not interesting. They're not winning games. It's frustrating. They don't sell out as many games like that. I could see as a worst case scenario.
All right, Nathan, let's start with your best case scenario, and then you can tell us your worst case scenario.
Yeah, I think their best case scenario is that they're the best defensive team in the league, and they kind of ride that defense into a top five seed, right? I don't know if I don't think one or two is in play, but like, could I see them sneaking in as like the fourth seed just off the fact that they're winning so many games defensively? I can see it. I mean, they have four switchable players in their starting lineup who could guard 1 through 4. Like I can see that being something they can build on this year for sure. I think my worst case scenario, just similar to Marissa's, like they can't really get their footing. The whole Yusei thing maybe gets weird, and not having her in training camp maybe weirds out the chemistry, and they start losing games, and they can never recover. That'd be, I think, the worst case because but at that point, you're kind of losing the fan base. And for a team that had so much hype, that does have, honestly, have some of these blunders, PR wise, that doesn't bode well with the fans, especially how they started the season. I definitely think, if they become 11th, 12th, that's going to be really bad. And it's going to reflect really bad, especially after making the playoffs in their first year and having all that hype and all those expectations, a 5-year window to take a major step back. I think they would have to look. I mean, if that does happen, I mean, we're talking about maybe them looking in the mirror at the end of at the end of the offseason and saying, do we need to reconstruct this roster?
To Nathan's
So,
point,
mhm.
to Nathan's point about like being bad, I think whether it's fair or not, if they are bad, we will come back to this trade and think about how they punted on a rookie. Like, because you can't be bad and punt on a rookie and punt on your draft. You can punt on your draft if you're good and you win playoff games and you're looking amazing. But I think whether it's fair or not, we're gonna look back on that trade and think like, why didn't they just keep Flage if they were gonna be bad and develop her? I don't that's part of again, this trade is gonna haunt them because it was such a handled so strangely and it was surprising on draft night. And I don't know if that's fair to the players. I don't know if that's fair to the team, but that is how we will view this whole situation right now if they aren't able to win.
It's just something that like I've talked to you guys about off camera a bunch during training camp is that they are basically banking on the same cast of players from last year to all make individual leaps. I asked Ohema at media day, hey, like, so was part of the calculus of, not shaking up the roster outside of Gabby that, oh, we're going to get improvement, like significant improvement from some of the players. And she's like, yes. And then, you ask her, well, who are they? And she doesn't want to say exactly who. Maybe that's expectations or whatnot. But it, I think it's really, I'm gonna say odd, maybe a little strange that a team that's the eighth seed and doesn't really have a lot of highly touted, let's say didn't have a bunch of rookies or really super young, high ceiling players to be like, our plan for success is we'll bring in Gabby Williams, she will solidify the defense more than it is. And then at the same time be like, oh, by the way, we hope that what Janelle Salaun becomes a 17 or 18 point per game scorer, that Veronica Burton, who was already most improved, makes another leap. Kayla Thornton comes back. It seems like it's a lot. They're banking on a lot of what ifs, but I don't know. What do you guys think about that line of thinking?
Yeah, they're showing a lot of belief in their returners, which I mean, last year it worked out. Like those players kind of had a chip on their shoulder. They came in and they performed well. I think Janelle Salon probably has the highest ceiling for growth. I think she is someone where if she makes smart shot selection throughout, she goes to the rim a little bit more, she could be someone who takes a big leap. Having a full season of repair, if KT kind of picks up where she left off, if Veronica Burton continues to improve, she's still like what 25, like she's still 26, pretty young. You still we don't know what she's going to do, so there's a lot of question marks. Like I do think there's a lot of players who could take a really big leap, but again, like if anyone regresses, like if Tiffany Hayes is hurt a bunch again, if Kia Stokes isn't what you hope for, if Repair's 3 point shot falls off, like what does that look like? They don't really have a backup plan.
Yeah, I want to add to that, Marissa. I think part of the leap, and we talk obviously about the players, but I think a big part of their success was Natalie Nakase and the system. I think they're banking on the system to get better too. And I think, look, a coach can only do so much when it comes to like players on the floor, but this is going to be interesting. I think you did ask that question a couple practices ago. Like now that they're going to scout, there's obviously a clear scout on them. Like, what does the system look like in year two? That's a big deal. Like, if teams could successfully scout the Valkyries and, these players don't take the leaps that we think they will, that's a recipe for disaster. And I do think going in here, and Natalie Nakase has said pretty bluntly, like she's more relaxed going into this training camp. She thought she overworked herself, which I'm glad that she's taking that step back. But a lot of pressure is on her to make sure that the system is at even higher level this year compared to last year. And last year was, I mean, they overachieved. So it'll be interesting to see if what they can do going forward in terms of on the coaching side, if how much that translates into getting, how many more wins than they did last year. Because I do think that that's going to be pretty important going into year two of the Valkyries.
I think I agree with Marissa and Nathan. I think like it's going to come down to how much can the system get out of these players again. And I also think like if we're talking leaps, if you stay is what we think you stay can be and what they think she can be, I think a lot changes because she's kind of the player that they need, like a real facilitator, a real pass, a real player who can score on all levels. If you watch that European tape and if that translates, I think that is kind of like there's a joke in the Warriors, Warriors land where like, sometimes when they get a player injured back, that's their acquisition. Like they just had that player already and that's the acquisition. But if you stay's coming in fresh, like she didn't play last year for the Valkyries. And if they get that level of potential that they see in her, I think a lot changes for them. That adds kind of the speculating about what they were going to use with the cap space in the draft night trade. You stay kind of can fill what they were looking for that need, that score first guard who can heat up at a moment's notice. So I'm kind of wondering, that's my biggest question this year is you stay gonna like change what Valkyries are destined for? That's what I'm looking at.
The let's pretend that you stays on the team. what is the ideal starting lineup for the Valkyries? Start with Marissa. What's their ideal starting lineup? What's their best starting five?
I think I don't know if Yusa's going to start. That's something I'm really interested in seeing. But like, if she doesn't, like, let's say I would see a backcourt of Veronica, Burton, Gabby Williams, and then Janelle at the three, and then KT and Ileana Repair. I think makes the most sense. And then with the possibility of like Tiffany Hayes sliding in there as the two when needed, and then we'll see what happens with Yusta. But like to me, that seems to be what they're kind of looking at. But we'll see.
Do you think Chechi gets in the starting lineup at all?
Due to like injuries and stuff, probably because she did at times last year, and I do think she like as like a six player off the bench, I think she can be like even more dangerous, and I think that's where she will really thrive if they're not relying on her in a as a starter. But she's definitely someone who like has the ability to if they need her.
Nathan?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that five is pretty much the same five I had. I think Tip Hayes is going to reprise her role as a six woman. I think Chechi will be in that mix as well. I do think, just to touch on just the lineup itself, like I know that they talk about how deep they are. There is a difference, and I think we're going to have to see this in real time, but there is a difference between like, yes, you're deep in name, right? Like you have all these players who theoretically could be very good for you, but there's also like, they have to perform at that level that we think they can, or if they're not gonna, they're not gonna succeed. So I'm really interested to see. Obviously, Stay will play a big part in all of this, and that will change. I think that if she can pop this year, like that will change the dynamic of a lot of things and a lot of rotations. I am interested to see like if the players like I'll give an example. Like Kyla Charles played really well at the end of last season. Can she maintain that? Is she going to be the same player? Or is she going to be scouted different? Like that all factors into if this is truly a deep team or if it's just a deep team on paper. But we'll see. I think you stay coming over, and I also don't think she's going to start early on. I think she does have the potential to maybe slide in, maybe where KT's spot is, and maybe you go with Janelle at the four. Um, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But yeah, I think their depth, especially now that they're hurt, like a couple players are hurt, that's going to be really big. We're going to see how deep they are come Friday and Sunday and what that rotation is going to look like because I think that's going to set up for the rest of the season.
All right, Kenzo, you're the last one.
Yeah, I agree with the Mercer and Nathan starting lineups. I think, I mean, obviously Veronica, Gabby, Janelle. I think you have to start those three. And Illy, I think Illy with Veronica, the offensive numbers were like unbelievable. It's like the best offensive duo in the league when they're on the court. So like, I don't think you can break that up. And then that fifth spot, I think that fifth spot might rotate just straight up because of the injuries and load management and stuff. KT's healthy, but I think they want to take her. They want to manage her minutes a little bit more this season because she's coming off that injury. So I think we could see a rotating cast of Chechi, Kyla, Tip, depending on the matchup. And I am actually kind of interested if Natalie is going to prioritize one starting lineups for consistency, or is she going to tailor that thing to the matchup? Like if we're playing a bigger team, am I starting a bigger lineup? Am I playing a smaller team? Am I starting you stay with Gabby and Veronica? Like I think that will be interesting to monitor. Or does she prioritize having the same starting lineup and the same rotation every single time? That's kind of my big question for this season.
As someone who watched the Warriors roll out, was it 39 starting lineups last year? 40,
43.
41.
What? How
Um,
is that even possible?
uh, different
Steve got
starting lineup
creative.
every
Steve got real
different.
creative.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I think you'd much rather see the same starting five or pretty close to that every game if it works, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
just to wrap up, when do they play their first regular season game for those who may not know?
Friday at Seattle.
Ooh,
I think
interesting.
just to lay this
Mm.
out there, since we talked about it, I do think it's interesting they get Flage on Friday and Marta on Sunday at home. That would be really crazy. Just the storyline. That's like a media thing, but like that's just very funny to me.
I don't
Yeah.
think they care. They don't care, but it's funny for
Okay.
us.
By the way, real quick, did Marta look were you impressed by Marta in her one preseason game? Because we've talked so much about the idea of, okay, you didn't get a first round pick. What do you think Marta was good enough to make the team? Uh, Anybody?
It's a tough question. I think she's good enough to be on a WNBA team. I think she adjusted pretty well to the speed of the game in a way that I was wondering if she would. Um, I think she's still a little bit raw. I think a developmental spot is good for her. I'm not sure if she was ever destined to be on this team in kind of like what they are going for.
Yeah,
Yeah, go you go.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I thought she was a project. Like after that first game, I thought this was more of a project than maybe I thought. I mean, after draft night, I could see I understood the trade from a like basketball standpoint of like, oh, like 3-point shooter, could post up a little bit. But after that first preseason game and kind of seeing her, she was a little lost offensively and defensively. Like she kind of didn't know where to go. And I thought, okay, like this is gonna take at the bare minimum like 6, 7 games just to get her feet under her. And I wouldn't say I wasn't impressed, but like yeah, I definitely saw that this was gonna be a longer term thing rather than a thing right now.
I agree. I think this is a larger point, but I don't even know if like they like again, like I don't think they wanted a rookie on this roster other than you stay. And I don't think it's at all Marta's fault. I don't know if she was totally like I don't know. She would have to do like incredibly, unbelievably well to have made the roster. So I don't know if any rookie was really going to make that roster if they weren't going to take that player at the eighth pick. So I think part of it was a little bit out of Marta's control, especially considering like developmental spot. Like I think she's perfect for that, but I don't know if she was totally given an opportunity to make the roster, given what the Valkyries are aiming for this year.
Yeah. All right, so we're running out of time here because Zoom has a 40-minute time limit. We have 7 minutes and 10 seconds left. Start with Marissa. Do you have any parting shots for the audience?
Read valkyriesbeat.com. I will be in Seattle for the opening game. I'll be on the road quite a bit this year. Yeah, stay tuned for that stuff. Please subscribe so that I can keep doing that and bringing Valkyries coverage. That's it.
Kenzo, where can we read your stuff?
You can find me on ClutchPoints. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on the JoJo podcast. Whenever Steve Kerr decides what he wants to do, we'll be talking about that. So, yeah, find me on ClutchPoints. I'm doing a lot of Valkyries, a lot of Warrior stuff. Yeah.
And Nathan, where can we read your stuff and my stuff?
That would be the San Jose Mercury News or the East Bay Times. You can find us there, and you can find me on Twitter at Nathan Canilao, and also on Blue Sky, same handle. So I'm on there now. I'm gonna hopefully post a little bit more, but yes, you could find us there. One last parting shot, I just think is really funny on the Mila Soa thing. I just think it's hilarious. Like the three half court shots is like the thing where Nelly talked. I know it just
Constantly.
I just think it's hilarious. I mean,
Brings
out
it
of
up
all the
like
things.
every day.
It's like,
No,
she's like, have you ever
you
seen
know,
that before? I've never seen that before.
they want to be on the cutting edge. So what happens when, in Seattle, the first play is Mila pull up from the half court line. We're gonna revolutionize basketball.
I
Yeah.
think we're all going to be writing about the one Milasoa half court buzzer beater at the end of the first quarter. Like at some point, all of us are going to have to
Well,
write this
Natalie's probably gonna check her into the table, like like when you have the opportunity, like get off the bench, let's go. Gotta
Yeah,
check you in for the final shot. So, um,
100% think that that's in play.
I did not think we'd be talking this much Mila Soa before the season, but that's Valkyries basketball. Thank you all for tuning in, and you can read all of us and follow us on social media and all that good stuff. And hopefully, it's an interesting season.